Hey, Jeremy, tall trainer here, and I'm gonna start a little bit of warming up, but we're not gonna do much warm up today because we've got a posture and core reset. All right, so there'll be some stuff for the hips, some stuff for the abs, upper body posture, a little bit in here too, so I think it's gonna be very, very nice, like a restorative kind of one, and it's a shorter one. This was not quite as long of a workout. So I think we're in for the main working block is like 24 minutes or something. All right, and so we'll be done, what is it, like 35 minutes or something like that maybe. All right, so disclaimer, is that, since I can't see you, you are doing this workout at your own risk. Try to get the posture right. This may not be the best workout for you. Again, this is for general strength, so if you're in general audience. Talk to your doctor or do an in-person program if you're not certain. If something hurts in a negative way, stop and get some help. All right, stop and get some help on that, all right? So we'll do a little kickback crisscross here. Let's warm up a little bit there. I guess let's throw a little fun fact your way, here. So the fun fact is we have chickens. There's my wife and my daughters there, and we have chickens. All right, and so that little chicken coop you see, like that big chicken run and all that stuff, I'm not that handy, but I had to build that because my wife said we're gonna get 6 chickens. And then we ended up with 15 chickens. So that was an adventure of last summer. All right, but they are doing lovely, and they are not livestock because they are not cost effective at all. We spent a lot to make them a nice little home. All right, so don't get chickens to save money on eggs. Get chickens because you want to laugh about chickens. All right? That's why you get chickens. Right, so I'm going to do a couple of tap backs here, just loosen up just a little bit. And then we're going to get into the workout here. You don't need any equipment for this one. You might want a mat, to use on this one here. And we just got a handful of exercises we're going to do. We're going to do a field goal squeeze. We're going to do this little rotation lunge thing. We got the down dog, the draw in, heel taps, and this head lift thing, which is a good challenge. And we haven't really done it that much in many of our classes, but I think there's a big value to it for improving upper body posture. All right, so we're just gonna get right into it. All right, so got my timer ready here. Let's start with the field goal squeeze. Go. Shoulders down, chest is out. So we got a minute we're working on this, but I wanna make it a strong minute. All right, so hard squeeze down, hard squeeze back, trying to improve our posture here. All right, so I'm turning here. You can see my shoulders down, my chest is out, trying to line up my head with the rest of me here. All right, dropping shoulders. The worst place for our shoulders to be in is up and forward. And so we're really working on this down and back thing. All right, down and back. Hard squeeze, a good hold. We're halfway through there. My stomach's pulled in, shoulders are down, chest is out, head is back. All right, so we're really just trying to reset posture, which is the name of the video. All right, the name of this workout, right? All right, so squeezing down, push that chest out. The more often you do this, the better. All right, don't try to reach back too hard because it might get too cranky in the shoulders, but get that squeeze back. Get that squeeze back in there, all right? All right, rotation lunge. Oh, game time. Right here. So you're gonna go down here. You're gonna try to go hand to the ground here, and then we're gonna do the other hand up in the air. If you need to, you could do hand on something a little bit higher to get in here. All right, but I'm gonna come down because I can. All right, so go nice and low in here. This knee is not shoving forward. It's pretty much over the ankle. And a lot of the work I get out of this is actually an upper back here too, as I try to revolve and open. So hips are staying low. So make a nice line through my body there. So I'm not popped up here with my butt up in the air, dropping in there, which is a lot of stretch into the hamstring and groin in there. All right, reaching around and looking up to the ceiling if you can. If you can do that without getting vertigo or something. Reaching, difficult. Hard on some posture points there. All right, so I'm gonna switch sides. All right, dropping in, reaching up, hip low, straighten out that leg, reaching up there. One more palm down maybe. Ooh, that's tough. Reaching, turning. Try to revolve the rib cage if you can. Turn that rib cage. That front hip is getting a pretty big stretch in there. And that shoulder reaching up and back and squeezing across the upper back muscles there. All right, so again, working on posture in the upper body here too, but really helping out the lower body as well, because it's a hard position for that hip to be in. A good stretch into both legs really. All right, hold in there, you got about 12 seconds. Turn, revolve, pivot, all the good stuff. Oh, yeah. Almost there. All right, we got the down dog. Best way to start the down dog is looking like you're doing a push-up. All right, leave your hands and feet there. Drop your heels towards the ground, and I'm going to pull away. Best maybe to start with knees slightly bent and just pull the tailbone away. All right, so I'm getting my shoulder stretching here. Now, once I have that, I got my tailbone up, my back is really straight, then I could try to straighten out the legs more. All right, so that leg straight shouldn't be the priority. Back straight should be the priority. All right, so a good habit to practice really is preserving the lower back. All right, so I'm shifting back in here. Stretching in my shoulders pretty good. Again, sticking my tailbone up in the air and then slowly straightening out the legs. My legs are not all the way straight. All right, there's a bit of tension in there, but I'm working on it right now. I'm working on the tension. All right, getting a little bit more out of it. You can even do a little bit of a one at a time thing. If you wanted to in there, straighten one and then the other one. To try to ease into that stretch a little bit more. All right, we got the draw in, one of my favorite abdominal exercises. I'm just right in here, horse stance basically. Pretend like I'm a coffee table and I'm pulling the abs in. All right, if you're gonna be a good coffee table, you don't want to spill the coffee, don't change position there. All right, so you're just pulling in. Focusing in on lower abdominals. Waking up this area of our abs is a high priority, high value. Okay, so these lower abdominals. So I'm in here and I'm pulling in the lower abdominal muscles, the ones below the belly button, right around the waistband, and lower than that even. All right, so it's really deep abdominal muscles. These ones flatten our abs better. They also protect our back. All right, so make sure you're not rounding up like a cat while doing it. Chest is out, shoulders away from the ears. It's almost the opposite here. Push the chest out pretty good. All right, so we got that drawing. Now we're gonna take that, we're gonna bring the heel tap in with that and practice the drawing from upside down here. So I'm still doing the drawing. I can almost imagine like I'm doing it right there. But now I'm gonna do a heel tap, which is gonna challenge that a little bit more. Now if that's too much challenge and your back is arching, you can do one leg at a time. All right, one leg at a time, but hard pull in on the abs. All right, the pull in should be most of the effort. The fact your legs are off the ground should be some effort too. And the movement towards the ground should be some effort. But how hard you're pulling in should be most of the effort. All right, so if it's not, pull in harder. All right. Sometimes it's helpful to put your hands on your abs and actually pull your hands away from that spot there, right? So pull your hands away from that spot. Put your abs away from your hands. All right. Lower abdominals pulling in. Hard pull in. Don't reach out too far with the legs. Really want to just tune into that area. All right, we got the head lift. We're laying down here. It's going to look like nothing. I'm going to lift my head off the ground. It's off the ground right now. All right, my chin's tucked in, and these neck muscles are flexing there, all right? Now if I sit down, you can't hardly see there. All right, but I'm going to lift off, and really, I mean, it's like you can't see my head off the ground. My hair is still touching the ground. But my head, the mass of my head is off the ground just a tiny bit. Chin is tucked in, puff the chest out, and I'm working these front of neck muscles, which often are very weak. So a lot of times our slouching involves so much back of the neck. Now we might get some stretching in the back of the neck, but we've got to get some flexing in here underneath the jaw, running towards the rib cage. A lot of work in those muscles. Now rest whenever you need to, because that was intense for me. All right, lifting up, holding, all right, and down. You can see it's just a small movement when I do that. Smallest of small movements, all right? We'll take a little rest, all right? Whoo, whoo. All that through the neck here, right? So, as we're doing this work, we're trying to reset our posture, and one of the classic bad postures is right when we're sitting, right? And we're slouching. And if you look at what my upper body is doing, my chin is out, the back of my neck is actually tensed up quite a bit. The front of my neck is actually opened up too much and is too relaxed. in here, and I'm overstretching my upper back, and I'm too tight across my chest. And so this field goal squeeze is part of it, that rotation ab, rotation lunge is part of it. The down dog is helping to stretch out some of that. Drawing for the core. I mean, this is a really great routine to just really set our posture up really, really nice. It's not extreme. You're not gonna get done with this and be like, whoa, my muscles, but it's like there's deeper core muscles we're really getting after. All right, so we're gonna stand back up here and get ready for that field goal squeeze again here. All right, bring the arms up, squeeze it down, squeeze it back, chin's tucked in. Now it's as hard as you wanna make it too. All right, so you go, well, squeeze and work it there. Flex some of those back muscles, all right? Shoulders squeezing down, chest is out, all right? Flexing some of those muscles as we're doing this, all right? Yeah, Bobby says I should turn around. Miss America or something, You kind of see like these angles out of stacking my posture, squeezing it back, dropping those shoulders down really, really well. Get this downward squeeze. The down squeeze is a big thing what we're trying to get out of this. All right. Puff the chest out. Abs are tight, butt's tight, so we're trying to stack the lower part of the posture a little bit too. All right, so now we're on the rotation lunge here. So again, big stance. All right, you can go to elbow here and reach up. All right, so elbow is by the knee. But I'm gonna go a little farther because my hip can do it. Because my hip can do it, I'm gonna go a little farther in there. All right, because I need to challenge it, and you need to challenge you. All right, so be on the heel of this front foot. Don't be on the toes too much here. Your heel shouldn't be lifting off the ground while you're doing this. All right, turn to reach, and open up posture a little bit more. Now right now, I'm not able to get exactly straight up in the air. All right, this arm is still forward a little bit because I got some tightness in here, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to do this workout. All right, let's get that improved, to get that reach back a little bit more here. Ooh. Ooh, yeah. The hip is stretching. The abs are working a bit here too. Ooh, yeah, good overall body thing going on here. All right, so bring it down and reach it up. Drop the hip in there a little bit. Reaching, turning. All right. Puff the chest out a bit. So get pretty tall through the body. You don't want to be too slouchy in here. Getting in there on the heel of that front foot, sinking down, reaching, turn the hips a little bit if you can, but you're gonna be blocked a little bit by the tightness of that front hip. Turn the rib cage a little bit if you can. Reach that arm up more. Pushing into this leg a little bit with this bottom arm. It's gotta be soon, right? Yeah, 3, 2. Ooh. Yeah, down dog. All right, so I'm gonna come back in here. I don't know if there's a better angle for this or not. No. We'll start off in here, like a push up. Hips start shifting up. Bend the legs a little bit. Pull the tailbone away. So you get that shoulder stretch started. Tailbone's up in the air. And then dropping the heels down. And then slowly straightening out the knees. Ooh. Yeah, so there's a little bit of calf stretch, a little bit of hamstring stretch, a little bit of shoulder stretch. There's a lot of areas working right now. Again, you could do the alternating legs if you wanted to. You gotta get a little extra into one side and the other side and see if that can buy you a little more straightness or a little more squeeze into there. Keep pulling the hips away from the hands. If you've ever seen a dog do this one, it's a big stretch of the front here too. It's a stretch of the back, but it's also a stretch of the front. Ooh. All right. All right, we got the draw in. All right, so abs are pulled in here. Lower abdominals, chest is out. Shoulders away from the ears. Really flat back here. All right, and hard pull in. We're gonna take this pull in and we're gonna apply it to that heel tap. But you wanna see if you can tire out here. It's a different kind of tire in the abs. Maybe not one that you're used to. It's lower. It's lower abdominals. I went to a stability ball workshop one time, and that lady really taught me a lot about these lower abdominals, because it's so important, because we're doing very tough things on the exercise ball. And you need to be able to hold good core posture, or else you're putting your back at risk. So these lower abdominal muscles really protect your back a lot. So you can do some pretty crazy abdominal things if you can keep a good brace and pull in on these muscles. All right, let's try the heel tap and raise. All right, right here, tapping and coming up. Lower abdominals in tight. That's the feature. Well, basically, when I went to the stability ball workshop, I was in college. I was a college athlete, I was a pole vaulter, and I went to this because we love ab stuff. Pole vaulters love ab stuff. So this is the way we are. All right, and so went to this workshop, and this lady was like, she was pretty old. She was like 43, all right? Like old, but I was like 20 at the time, so it seemed old. I was like, wow, she's like fairly old. And the reason why that stuck out to me was she had some of the flattest abs I'd ever seen on a human. And I was around athletes all the time, but she coached this lower abdominal area so strong. So that area below the belly button, hard pull in right there. She'd had 3 kids and super flat abs. So I was like, this is noteworthy. This is noteworthy. I should pay attention to this. Hard pull in. Oh, all right, good, right in there. All right, and then we got the head lift. All right, so we're lifting up here, just a small lift. All right, chin's tucked in, looking up, and then come down. Maybe about 10 seconds each lift, or till you can't stand it anymore. So tuck that chin in, try to get the front of the neck feel. If you're having trouble with it, take your tongue and push it into the roof of your mouth. That'll definitely flex the front of the neck. You're like, well, these muscles feel like they've never been worked at all. And down. They're like your whiplash muscles. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna get whiplash. These things are weak. All right, chin's tucked in, just a slight lift. Don't lift way up. Don't lift way up, just a slight lift. You can almost, like if somebody was looking at you, they wouldn't be able to tell, except that you're making kind of a funny face while you're doing it. Chin's tucked in, pulling along the bottom edge of the jaw towards the throat there. All right, that's where it's working. All right, and rest. Oh, what a weird feeling that one is. But again, I notice, through life and posture and things like that I am off a little bit, in that regard, that I have this forward head stuff going on, just like most people do. And I really don't want too much of it. I really don't want too much of this. So an exercise like that, you don't want to do too much because you're really tired out pretty fast. All right, but doing it some can be really, really, really helpful there. All right, so a couple of good lessons, right? That old 43-year-old lady who I'm now older than, had taught a very good lower abdominal lesson. We can take this lesson of the front of the neck here and see if we can apply that into some of our regular standing here too. So we're not forward slouching and just gaping with the front here. We're pulling back and actually flexing the front of the neck. All right, so we're gonna come up here and we're gonna get our field goal squeeze one more time. So we got one more lap through those. And again, this is not incredibly difficult, but there's a lot of stretch and work going on. All right, so squeeze down, squeeze back, chin's tucked in, abs in tight. Turn it sideways here so you can see a little just, I'm trying to line up. All right, so if you need to, you go to a wall or something, try to put your butt on the wall, your shoulders on the wall, your head on the wall, and all of a sudden you realize how far your head is forward sometimes. You're like, oh my goodness, I gotta reach back there a lot farther. And that's where some of those neck muscles are coming in here too. Shoulders down, chest is out. We're flexing the front of the neck, trying to lengthen the back of the neck. You might feel a stretch along there. You might feel a stretch along the front of the chest, and some squeeze in the back here. The armpit muscle under here, and the ones between the shoulder blades too. All right, so you get that squeeze action going on there. And right now I'm looking, I can see this is sticking out a little bit. I need to flatten this just a little bit right in there. All right, so I pull that in, tuck the hips a little bit more underneath me, and brace up those lower abdominals. Just again, try to restack everything as much as you can. All right, we got the rotation lunge again. Now you can do a rotation lunge where you go the other way. I find that that's not where I'm the tightest. So I like this one where you're rotating and opening up this way. All right, because that's where I'm more tight in that groin, hamstring area. And so by doing this, I can really get some good benefit. So sinking down, turning, opening. Whew. If you're like an exercise junkie and you're like, this is hard enough, well, combine this with like a cardio day then. All right, but it's really, really beneficial to include something like this in your weekly routine at least. All right, some kind of flexibility, mobility, posture improvement type workout. Squeeze in. It's not easy. I'm fighting this right now. Shaking, twitching. You might not be able to see it because the twitches are so small. All right, but they're there. All right, sinking down, turning, reaching, dropping the hip in, turning the rib cage a bit. Oof. Yes. All right, if my foot isn't far enough back, I'm gonna find myself shifting forward a lot. So make sure you got a long enough stance to do this thing well. All right, heel is kind of pressing down on that back foot. There too, all right? Whew. Turning, opening, rotating a bit there. Oh, it's burning. At 12 seconds. Turn. So the hips wants to stop me. The shoulder wants to stop me. Abs, keep the abs pulled in. Good brace in there. Whew. Oh, lovely. All right, so down dog is next. All right, maybe I'll show a slightly different angle just for fun's sake here. All right, so looking like a push-up. Drop those heels towards the ground a little bit as I lift my tailbone up, and I'm pulling my hips away from my hands. This first move, if you're really tight in the shoulders, you might go a tiny bit wider, and that might buy you a little bit more stretch through the shoulders there. Eventually, you'd like to be able to do it with a narrower hands position too, though. All right, so I'm getting the tailbone up, pulling the hips away, trying to get that back nice and straight. Priority to that, move my feet a little bit closer together, because if I go feet about hip distance, I can really line up the hamstring a little bit more. I want to see if I can go after that a little bit. All right, so then I'm trying to straighten out the knees to a pretty uncomfortable place. And this should be, it's called a recovery position in yoga, but I don't see it. I don't see it at all. I don't get any recovery at all on that one. That's a lot of effort. All right, so the draw in. All right, pull those lower abdominals in. So I'm with that stability ball workshop. My friend Corey and I were there, and we did this thing, and we're both pretty strong, but we did all this great work of focusing on the lower abdominals, which I had never done before. I was actually sore there the next day. I was like, never been sore in my lower abdominals. I've been sore in my upper, in the middle, sides even, but not the lower. So like really focusing in. Hard pull. Should still be able to breathe. It doesn't involve a lack of breathing to do this one. It doesn't look like I'm doing anything, but I am working. Working in there. As I pull in harder, I actually do feel some of my lower back muscles flexing too. It turns out God put a weightlifting belt in there. When we activate enough of the front, the back gets activated too, and it helps us lock in our good posture there. All right, so we do heel taps. All right, so same thing, bracing, tapping. Don't let the back shift hard, pull in. Don't let the back arch. If you can't tap all the way down, just don't. Only go as far as you can, and then come back up. All right. There's no shame in doing a small range of motion. That's amazing. All right. There's some shame in doing a large range of motion that you don't have control of. All right. Pulling those abs in, tap, squeeze in. Try to draw it in from the lower abdominals. And there, you're gonna put the hands on there and pull away from the hands. Imagine like somebody's got a vacuum seal thing hooked up to your abs. Hard pull. 8 seconds. Hardest pull, hardest pull. Should still be able to breathe, but hardest pull. All right, the head lift. All right, finishing off there. Chin's tucked in, slight lift. Small little lift. I can push my tongue in the roof of my mouth, but I can't talk then. All right, so if you do want to get that tongue in the roof of the mouth, it will tighten up more of those muscles underneath the jaw here. All right, go about as long as you can stand it, and then give yourself a little rest, especially if it starts getting too much in the back of the neck. All right, front of the neck is fine, but if it starts radiating in the back of the neck too much, give yourself a rest. So slight lift. You know, my hair is on the ground, but my head is not. Puff that chest out. You can squeeze the shoulders away a little bit. You know, that'll get a little more stretch in the back of the neck while you're at it. Oh, difficult. Difficult. Oh, these muscles. Nearly there, last couple seconds. Oh, that one is kind of helpful. I almost think about taking your crown of your head and pushing it out away from you a little bit there too. So that chin slides in a little bit more. Woo! All right. So there we go. There we go. You know, so we've got, we'll do a little bit of stretching here. All right. And then we'll send ourselves on our way. So that one is a pretty good flexibility routine too, but it's gonna be good to hit some of the other classic stretches here as well. All right, so I'm gonna lay down on my back. I'm gonna pull that knee in. All right, so you can see the routine right here. You know, this is one we're gonna use a whole bunch. You got the knee pull in, ankle over the knee. We got the tricep, we got the quad, we got the hip stretch. We've got the chest, I guess the calf I didn't mention yet. And so it's got good stretches in there. Pulling this knee in, stretching in here, switch sides. Pull that in there. Just the fact of warming up and stretching regularly can be hugely powerful. All right, so don't negate that, the fact that if only what you did, every day you just did a warm up and a stretch, it could be incredibly powerful for how you feel. The more flexible you are, the younger you feel. All right, I don't know about you, but I don't mind feeling younger. All right, maybe when you are like really young, you're like offended, like, oh, I want to be older, yeah. But after a certain point, you're okay with being like, I thought you were younger than that. You're like, haha, cool. All right, so grab a hold, reach through, cross the ankle over the knee, and then pull it towards you. So it is a hip rotation stretch. You should feel this in your butt a little bit as you're doing this. Flex the toes back on this knee here, right back towards this knee, you know, right in here, as you're doing the stretch. And pull towards you a little bit. Yeah, I'd like to be a little bit closer, but that's actually a tight one for me. I need this stretch. All right, other side. Cross over, reach through, pull. You might feel like your arms aren't long enough and you're kind of like coming up off the ground and stuff. And hopefully over time you'll be able to get it. We have some people in class, like all of a sudden I'll hear this like, woo! And I'm like, what? They're like, I was able to grab my leg. You know, because they've been in his class for a little while and they couldn't get the leg, so they just started doing with just a stretch where the foot stayed on the ground to start with. All right, but then they're like, I got it, and that's a good thing to celebrate. It's a good thing to celebrate. Got more flexible. Super good there. All right, so we got that hip stretch there. All right, so we're coming up. got the red alert here. All right, so we're gonna do the tricep stretch next. So you're reaching overhead. I'll come down. Point that up in the air. Abs in tight. All right, stretching the back of the arm here. All right, other side. I'll stand up now. I think Bobby's got it. This is fun though, this is good times. Bobby's playing a video game called Try to Keep Jeremy in the Picture. This is a video game that he gets to play while we're doing this. All right, abs in tight, point that elbow up in the air. Get a good stretch along there. Now I want to talk just for a moment, you know, on this assembly line effect, but maybe I'll do that while we're doing this quad stretch. All right, so find the wall, tap there, point the knee down, abs in tight. So on this assembly line effect there, just a quick thing I want to mention is that oftentimes the part that hurts is not the part that's having the problem. So this picture here says the hips are taking a nap and the knees and lower back are working extra. So if they're on an assembly line, if my hips are not flexible or strong, then my knees and lower back are going to do extra, and they're the ones that are going to knock their stool over and freak out. All right, so because they're doing twice the work on the assembly line. All right, go ahead and switch legs on the quad stretch here. So point that knee down. You know, so that's an important concept because that is basically what got me to hurt my back. All right, and so my hips weren't doing the work and my back did extra. So I just, you know, so that's true in the shoulders, that's true in some other places too, where a lot of times you're like, oh, my shoulder hurts. It's like, well, the shoulder blade's not moving well. So things like field goal squeezes, things like that, help that shoulder blade to move better. All right, let's do a little hip stretch here. All right, abs in tight, push that hip forward, press that heel back, stretching in through here. All right, get that lengthening through here. This gets tight when we're sitting, right? Because when we're sitting, it's folded up, in here the whole time. And then I'm gonna try to open, through there. It's gonna have a tough time opening, but it's worth doing, because if we don't, then we walk, we're actually gonna walk in bad posture. And we're gonna be more likely to hurt ourselves just walking. Who wants to hurt themselves walking, right? Not me, not me. I hurt myself walking, all right? But if it gets too tight here, then our glutes aren't involved with the walking as much, and we're really messed up. It really doesn't work well. So abs in tight, push the hips forward, tip the hips up towards you a little bit. All right, so it's a chance to like engage that lower abdominal here and pull it up towards you just a little bit there, so we're not arching the back too much here. All right, so stretching in there. All right, we'll do the calf stretch here. Press that heel down, bend that front leg. I got a little thought for you guys for today. All right, so deep thoughts with Jeremy here. So we'll chat about that as soon as we're done stretching here. And I'll send you off with a quick prayer too. Right, press that heel down, bend that front knee. Nice stretch. Now, when you're doing a calf stretch like this, the toes will want to turn out. And then that's not as much calf stretch. If you can straighten the toes out more and then press in, you go, oh, that's more. So if anything, you almost want to go overboard a little bit and go slightly in and go, oh, yeah. All right? So of the two options, too far in is better than too far out. All right? That's where you get a stronger stretch into the calf there. Oh, yeah. Good pressure on the wall there. And then we'll do the chest stretch. Hand up on the wall, about head height. Shoulder down, chest is out. Because we want the elbow to be close to shoulder height while we're doing this. Puff the chest out really good. Fill the rib cage up like you took a giant breath and turn away a little bit. A lot of times I'll use the other arm to kind of help create this opening for my chest there. All right? Don't turn too far. If you turn too far, the shoulder tends to pop up and it gets all scrunchy here. So keep that shoulder down and puff it out like you took a big breath. And maybe actually take a big breath. All right? Step forward with the opposite foot. Put the hand up on here. Shoulders down, chest is out. And turn away from it. Reaching out. Get that good stretch in there. Ooh. Oh, lovely. Good stretch. All right. So for stretching, I got a little thought for the day, for us here. And so the thought for the day is kind of based on the greatest commandment here. So I'm a Christian, that should be said, but I think there's an incredible value in this. I think it's a greater value if you're not a Christian, but, I think it's a pretty cool thing. You should look into it. But Mark 12, 29 through 30, they asked him, what's the greatest commandment? They got the 10 commandments for the Jews, and they were questioning Jesus. They said, okay, the most important one, Jesus answered, is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. All right, that's a regular saying that they say. And then it says, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Heart, soul, mind, and strength. You go, okay, cool. So if you're a Christian, you go, yeah, I get behind that. But if we look at the next slide here, it's in my observations, our hearts are broken and brooding. We're so torn up about things that happen to us in life. Our souls are troubled. Our minds are preoccupied and stressed, anxiety, depression, all that stuff. And our strength is atrophied. We're not taking care of our physical body that well. And so if we're going to love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, you go, boy, if we don't have that much to give, that's kind of a bummer. That's kind of a bummer there. And so we want to see if we can actually have more of those things. So settle, some of the turbulence in our minds. Get our relationships in good places, those kind of things. But also part of that is our bodies. All right, it's taking care of this physical shell that we occupy. It's a gift that we've been given, and so we get to use it, and we're the only ones who can really take care of it. So if you are, like, man, I feel like sometimes it's a waste of time, or I got other stuff to do, be like, remember like how valuable this precious thing is. And if it's not working, if it stops working, nothing else is happening in your life. So you want to keep it working. You want to keep it working. All right, so I'll finish with a prayer here. God, thank you for our bodies. Thank you for this time that we had to exercise. Help everybody to get after their days well. If they have any prayer requests that they need to send, maybe just post them, as a comment, and help us to be really good encouragers, of them as they go about doing the things that they do. And I just ask for your protection, and your peace as we do all this. In the name of your Son Jesus Christ, amen. Have fun, be safe, God bless.